today's halachas are halachas about blowing the shofar, but we're starting off the brochos of blowing the shofar. And there are over here a lot of important ideas which are relevant for other places too. So we're doing them. Tav Kuf Pei Hey Aleph. You have to blow the shofar mu'umad. How do you eat matzah? Sitting down. All right? How do you shake rulo? Do you have to? You have to do mitzvah standing up?
No. There are a few that you do, but most of them you don't.
Right. Okay, that's correct. So normally, in order for us to have to do it standing up, we need to have a limud to tell us they have to do it standing up. Stam mitzvah can be done sitting down. I'll just, I don't know if any of you people ever seen a Sephardi, or you ever see a Sephardi put on his tefillin shel yad? Sitting down. But I didn't ask you how does he put on his tefillin shel rosh. You notice I didn't ask that question. Right? No, there we see clearly that there's sometimes reason one time this way, one time that way. But here we have the halacha that you have to do it mu'umad. And this is learned out, the Mishnah Berurah is going to teach us, this is learned out of a drasha. V'noagim l'tkoa al habima v'makom shekayrin. We blow on the bima. Why do we blow the shofar on the bima? What's so important about the bima? The bima is that's where we learn Torah. That's your learn Torah. So the schos of Torah should be making. In other words, there's a symbolism in blowing the shofar over there. All right, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. V'chein habracha tzarich liyos ba'amida k'mo kol brichas hamitzvos. Now, the general rule is, at least according to one Pri Megadim, however you do the mitzvah, that's the way the bracha should be done. I don't know if people were aware of it that happened today. There's actually a shaila in Mishnah Berurah in Siman Tov Reish Tzadik about bracha on the Megillah that's laid on Purim. Now, most people don't notice that the Baal Kaira on Purim says the bracha standing, because how should he say the brachas? I mean, it's obviously he's standing on the bima to read, so he's not going to sit down. I mean, it's not practical. But this is Nageya. What happens on Tisha B'Av when you lay an Eicha? How is the bracha said? So if anybody was here on Tisha B'Av this year, they would have seen that something happened about this here in Shul on Tisha B'Av, exactly how the bracha should be said. I'll just take a look. I think it's stuff for Tzaddik. It's worthwhile to see it. Those who have a Mishnah Berurah over here.
What Siman Tov Kuf?
Okay, tough reish tzaddik. Okay, the Sharet here doesn't have the whole of it, but it says Mia brachas. The halacha over here by the Megillah is called the Megillah ben Amri ben Yoshev. You have to do it ben Amri ben Yoshev, right? It says the Mishnah Berurah Miu habracha yivarach ba'amida. Seems like there's an extra halacha that the bracha has to be ba'amida. The gam hashayim habracha kiven the yetzim yedei shmiya mishum shmei kohen tzichim gam kein lamoid. They have to stand. So this is a very interesting halacha that the bracha over here does not follow the form of the mitzvah. The mitzvah can be done by yeshiva, but the bracha should be done by amida. We'll make the assumption that Megillah l'gzer shava, and if you don't have to sit, if you're supposed to stand for the bracha of Megillah, so then you should stand for the bracha of Megillah of Eicha. So that's a not comfortable or conventional kind of a situation, but nevertheless, that's the idea. That's the proper thing that should be done. Now, Mu'umad says Mishnah Berurah. Why do you have to do it? Why do you have to blow the shofar from Mu'umad? It says Yom Chua Yilachem v'Yafinam Yilachem Gabi Omer, because the word Omer is used by the other. It says a Cheresh v'Akama You should be standing when you're doing the Omer. The cause of Magen Avram, the Fiza, Ein Lismach Al Shum Davar Ba'Ishim Sheinat Olay Sedavar Yipol. This is the old klal. Anytime that if you do it, you'll be falling down, that's called you sitting down. Sha'amida Zuya Chashuva K'Yeshiva. That kind of amida is called yeshiva. Mikol Mokom B'Di'evet in Takam Yushav L'Gamrei. If you didn't listen to everything we said over here and you did it sitting down, Yotza. Why? The cross Machta Ba'al Mahu L'Chatchila. It's not, which is the reason? Lev, which one is the reason? Cross Machta. Parrots.
L'chatchila.
And if it would be deraisa, there can't be a loch l'chatchila in deraisa.
Can it be a halacha l'chatchila deraisa?
So you're asking, what do you ask?
I want over here. It says if you did it sitting down, so you're yotze b'diavad. Why are you yotze b'diavad? So read the words in the
The smachta.
And therefore what? The smachta means in English simple, fancy drabbanan, and you can't have drabbanans that are ma'akiv.
That's why I said l'chatchila is the reason.
So then why does it do what's in the smachta?
So it's a derabanan, and that was only the derabanan.
So skip out that smachta part. Just say that that's derabanan. Anyways, I think there's a little bit to do on that subject. Just pointing out that when you read, you should not be sleeping. Important idea, not to sleep. Okay. V'atzibur hashoyim matkiyos lo hitrichon lamo mishum kavod hatzibur. Now, I'll just tell you, when I came to Eretz Yisrael, I used to daven sometimes with Svardim, and I found it very annoying. You know, when people do things that are not like the way that you're used to, it's annoying. Not because they're doing wrong or right, it's annoying. You know, I mean, if somebody would sing the Kel Adam that I've never heard before, so you find it annoying. It's not a question of right or wrong. And the minig of Svardim, I'm actually very careful. I said the word the minig of Svardim, but many Svardim sit throughout most Kadeshim. When Kaddish is being said in davening, they sit, and all Ashkenazim, they jump up and they stand. So take a look. Rav Yosef has a long tshuva on this subject, and when I say, yesh makom galot, that what they're doing is 100% right. I'm not right now. I'm just saying, to me, it was very odd because when you see one thing, you see something else. Like imagine you saw came to Shofar sitting down doing kedusha, right? It's just just doesn't go down well. But the etzem, it could be done. So over here, this is something which is fascinating. This is what this tshuva has to do with this thing of tircha de tzibura, to have people stand up. I really never understood this idea until I got a little bit older. Tircha de tzibura was always to be a time issue. You're gonna have people wait around, but to be matriach the tzibur to stand up. I mean, if you're supposed to stand up, then you're going to stand up. What does it mean, tircha de tzibura, to have them stand up? So the answer is there's a thing called kavod hatzibur, and to ask the tzibur of something that's could be matriach the tzibur. The word tircha does not mean a pain in the neck. I don't know how you say that in proper English. How do you say that in proper English?
Nuisance.
Yeah, but it's not inconvenience. Inconvenience, yeah, but it's not. I don't know. It's not exactly right. I don't know. There must be some word for that. Anyways.
Social?
Yeah, but no, but it's not that. No, it's just people don't want. It's lo rotzim, right? And people consider it a nuisance. That's
Not suitable.
what?
Not suitable.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So if you're really supposed to do it, so why is it called tircha de tzibura? So the answer is, anytime that you have somebody do something for you, you're causing the person to work. So then you have to realize, who are you asking to do the work for you? If you're asking the tzibur to do something, so that you better have a very good reason for it. Tircha de tzibura is not only a timed issue, it's Kavod HaTzibur demands that the least amount be demanded from the tzibur because the tzibur is a prominent thing. Just translating the concept over here. So therefore, they didn't have the tzibur stand for the tkiyas de miyushav. The tkiyas de miyushav means the ones that are done before Shmona Esrei. Why are there tkiyas done before Shmona Esrei? So that is a whole discussion about that question. Now that is even a machlekes haposkim as to whether halacha l'maisa, which tkiyas you're yaitza with. The Mishnah Berurah here goes with the opinion that you're yaitza with the ones that are in chazar sashatz, and these are just that they're up on. And being that it's not, you're not really being required of it. So the Mishnah Berurah says, so here it's not so imperative that you stand. So it's tircha de tzibura, and we'll let you sit. Now I have a ha'ara on this. On this Mishnah Berurah, which I'm not sure is a ha'ara. I'll just share it with you. If the reason why is because if you look at the sources, you see that they sort of discuss this issue. The reason why you're allowed to sit is because of tircha de tzibura. So why does the Baal Tekeh have to stand? He's not part of the tzibur. Is he part of the tzibur? So why is he different? All right, let's see the Mishnah Berurah.
How would an individual be the tzibur?
How would
the individual be a tzibur?
I think that every tzibur is made up of individuals, right?
Right, but there's a rule for Baal Tekeh and a rule for the tzibur.
Well, so how did you know that?
Not the tzibur.
Well, how do you know this rule? Why are there two different rules?
Because he stands.
I just asked, that was a question. Why should he have to stand? When is the Baal Tekeh being yet to the mitzvah? With the tkiyas to miyusha or tkiyas to mu'min?
Same as everyone else.
So if the reason why you're allowed to sit is because you're not being yaitza, so you should also be able to sit.
His standing is also a cover at tzibur.
I don't know. I don't know what it says over here. That you maybe there's such a thing, but I don't know if that's true in the case when everybody else is sitting down. I don't know if there's such an aspect. I'm just leaving that as a question when you read this halacha. Okay. Anyways, where are we up to? וגם כי אסירים לשמוע מאומר התקיע שעל הסדר הברוכה של ברוך סכוינס, ועכשיו נהגו שהציבור לעמוד, כולם גם בשעת התקיע שתויקים פר מוסר. The minhag is the mindset that we stand for those also. Our be Cain, Mikroin Kiddush to Yoshu, Dacha Shurshus Leshu Bahem. Theoretically, you're allowed to sit over there. Yochid Shomei Atkias Lotes Bahem, if he's doing it to be Yaitza, Einoi Osid Lishmoy Al Seder HaBrochas, and he's not going to be around. And it's like a lady. Many times ladies come for the sturdy koilis, and that's like a neat job because you come for 5 minutes and you get the whole deal. Well, if you'd have to come for in the middle of Shmona Esrei, you have to be there for an hour, probably something like that, to get all of it. I don't remember exactly how long it is. And not only that, if you want to get the 30 that are after Shmona Esrei, you never know when that's going to be. So whatever. So there are a lot of people that they come to be Yaitza with the Raisa, with the Kiyas beforehand, and those people's zikr should be standing. All right, I'll just tell you something. I just mentioned it now. In this shul, I don't know if any of you ever paid attention. The first set of tkiyas we do neshima achas. The second one we do shtei neshimas, and the third one we do like we did back home. Because the sound of the shvarim is a different sound than the shvarim that we blow the first 2 sets. Now, a friend of mine asked Rav Elyashiv, probably about 30 years ago, what should he blow for the last set? Because you really, the Ikar Machlekes is in the Shima Achas Shtei Neshimas. So the last 30, that's you can do whatever you want. So he asked what you do. So that's it, do whatever you want. Any shita you want is fine, doesn't matter, because you're already Yaitza. So he said, so I want to do the Chazon Ish. He says, no, chas v'shalom, you can't do the Chazon Ish. So he asked him, why can't you do the Chazon Ish? He said, you already were Yaitza. He says, even though you already were Yaitza, listen to this. But there are people who maybe came for the last 30 and they didn't hear the first 60. So when do you say that you can do whatever you want, really? That's when, or it has to be at least a majorly accepted Shita in Klal Yisrael. In other words, the Shimachas Shtein Hashimus, that's a regularly accepted Shita. So if you do either one of those two, then that's 100% okay. If you do the Chazon Ish, which is like a Chomer Dika Shita, you don't do that extra Chomer Dika Shita on the expense that people are going to have to rely on that to be Yaitz with that. It's a fascinating cheshbon and pshat. You know, you can do whatever you want, and then it's okay, so I want to do. So then, no, you can't do that. You know, it's like he meant one thing and he heard something else. Okay. Anyways, so a person should be aware that this is actually important. Nakuda, I'll just mention it today also. When are we Yaitza? Mitzvah Shamlin, the Mishnah Berurah, there's a machlekes afaiskim. When are you Yaitza Mitzvah Deraisa? If you Yaitza Mitzvah Deraisa with the kiss the miyushim or the kiss the movement, and there's no Gemaras here. There's no Gemaras on this side of the world. Okay, we'll skip it. Anyways, Sachim. No, but it's not so. It's not worthwhile to get. All right, well, he's going to get it. So, there's a Taisus in Arab Sachim, which I call this Taisus a Bekiyas. Why is it a Bekiyas? Most Arab Sachim is not a Bekiyas for many people, because that's the fact that people learn. But when there's something over there that's the gap for something else, and you remember it when you learn that something else, that's called a Bekiyas. What Taisus says in regard to what Taisus is discussing, that many people know. But the raya that he brings is a fascinating raya, and I'll share it with you, even though that we're not going to probably learn that part today, but this will have it in your back pocket. When do you make a brocha on Maror?
The Hadama?
Oh, right. So you answered the question which I didn't ask. Which brocha? Right? There are two brochas that you make. You have to make a Hadama. Just like your achilas matzah, you make hamoitzi, and you make achilas matzah, you make two brachas. When you eat the maror, you only make one bracha. Which bracha do you make? Achilas maror. What happened to that dama?
Karpas.
Karpas. Okay. Now, what happens if somebody doesn't have karpas? He only has maror. Could he use maror for karpas? What's the criteria that you need? It has to be Adam. Maror is Adam. That's such a good question, the question you're asking, that the Mishnah Berurah, I say this over all the time because I love this Mishnah Berurah, because the second teretz is like a very gishmak alamdish teretz. Mishnah Berurah says, if you had asked me what bracha do you make on Maror, there's no supik if you make any brocho or you make a shahakol. Not a dama. So how could you make a dama on Maror altogether? So I'm going to skip this first teretz. I'll tell you the second teretz. So I find the second teretz more intriguing. If the Torah says to eat it, it becomes food. So if you want to eat Maror today, maybe you don't make a brocha, you make a shahakol. But it's Pesach by night, it's the king for the night. That night, its bracha changes.
Is he talking about lettuce or the horseradish when he said it?
He's talking about the horseradish. The horseradish.
Okay, because
You know, I want to ask you a question, parents. Did you ever make a bracha on ketchup?
I never ate it plain, so I don't
That's
know.
right. And neither people don't eat horseradish plain either.
No, but
I know.
lettuce people eat.
Yeah, I understand, but he's not talking about lettuce. That's right, lachila. That's
Isn't the shadow about lettuce?
no, shadow was on the chum. You could use lettuce or karpas. You could do that too. But he's talking about eating the hot, the bitter stuff, whatever you want to call it, the real thing, whatever, the bitter stuff. So here Taisa says as follows. Taisa says in the Kuftes Vaz. We don't show the boy. So there it is. And so he says if you can eat it to the same one for both of them, if you want, Lev, could you fish this up out of your Psachim, page 115a? Taisus, the top Taisus. I forgot that. He could get a Gemara much faster than you. It's just that
Not always. I'm going to try.
Okay, he's going to try. Okay. Anyways. What? Psachim. No, I understand that they could have it. So he says as follows.
What
Kuf Tes Vav Amud Aleph. Top Taisus. You can make a brocha al achilas maror by tivul rishon. Af agav the ikar mitzvah maror loy nafik ela betivul sheni achar matzah. Even though you're not yaitza, really, I don't know what those words mean, right? The loy nafik ikar mitzvah maror loy nafik. Can you translate those words? Anybody who's good at translating? What? The ikar mitzvah. What is the ikar mitzvah? The auxiliary mitzvah. Yeah, okay. But he still works the.
No, he's eating Maror, Lamaisa. He's eating Maror, and he's eating Maror.
Are you Makayim a part of Mitzvah's Maror?
You're Makayim the whole Mitzvah Maror.
Can I ask you a question? If I drink a kos of wine between the second and third kos, do I have an extra dollar kosas? I'm not doing it for that. It's not part of that. Okay. Go down yeah, you were good. Oh, I lost you. Okay, go down further, go down. Go, keep on going down. Keep on going down. That's it. Alpha Gav. No, go back up. Go up 2 lines. The last one on the line, Alpha Gav, right? Okay, Alpha Gav. There, that's where we're up to. I lost my place over here. And that works. Midi dahavi abirchas shofar. How do you know that such a concept exists? That it works by birchas shofar. The mevarech at tkiyas the yeshiva. You make a brocha on the tkiyas the yeshiva. Umu'eles brocha at tkiyas the amida shehem iker. V'nasis al seder brachas. So Tosfos understood as a davar pashat that I'm not sure what, right? Tosfos understood that even though you're not being yaitz to the mitzvah, but you can make a bracha on it because it's a part of the mitzvah. It's just not the ikar mitzvah. Okay, so I said that like a good boy, but it needs to be explained. That's the bottom line. It needs to be explained, but the concept is understandable. All right. Okay, Shofar, are you with us? Okay.
I'm waiting for the explanation.
You're waiting for the explanation. So the answer, there's 2 different parts that need to be explained, but the answer is I'll just speak about our case. With our case, I think it's much easier than over there. Chazal designed that we actually blow shofar, and we're doing the mitzvah of Tiyah Shofar maybe for a different purpose, but we're actually doing that mitzvah. So it's enough blowing the shofar, even though it's only kedei la'arbev v'sasatin, but we're blowing it in order that it should be shofar-like, so that it becomes part of the mitzvah. Part of the mitzvah of shofar is the ma'arbev v'sasatin, so mamela you can make a bracha on it, even though it's not the ikar mitzvah itself. That's the explanation way I understand it. And the same applies over there also. Anyways.
But a person who's just listening to the first 30 kailas, so he's 100%.
So now this is the nekuda I wanted to mention. I mentioned this one year when we were learning Sfir Sa'omer. I don't remember if it was recently or a long time ago. So anybody who remembers it, bear with me if I'm boring you. We say when we the Hirotzim before Sfiras Omer, L'Kayim Tzashay, Svarta L'Chem Brachos HaShabbos, Tisbur Chamishim Yom. And we learn, the Mishnah Berurah says many times that we paskin that Sfiras Omer is a D'Rabbanan. So we're in a problem with last week's Parsha. If you say that you're doing a mitzvah d'oraisa when it's only D'Rabbanan, according to some, you're over on Baal Tosef. And if you hold that it's a d'oraisa and it's a D'Rabbanan, and you say you're doing the mitzvah d'Rabbanan, then you're over on Baal Tigra. Last week's Parsha.
How's it Baal Tosef if you're doing the same thing?
Because you're doing it when you're not supposed to do it. What about if I sit in the sukkah on the 21st day?
Then you're sitting in the sukkah on the 21st day.
So that's Baal Tosef.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting in the sukkah. Here you
No,
would be,
the day after. Person who sits in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres, he's over Baal Tosef.
right, because he's sitting in the sukkah when he doesn't have to.
And here I am. Right,
He's
here I'm
counting Sphira. What's the difference if he thinks it's D'Oraisa and it's D'Rabbanan? He's doing the same Maisa.
But no, but I am creating a mitzvah d'oraisa.
What are you creating? You're doing the exact same thing. You're doing the exact same thing if it was D'Oraisa or D'Rabbanan.
So what?
So how you?
I'm doing it as a d'oraisa, and there is no such d'oraisa.
But what were you mosif? Because you thought something.
I was mosif that there's a din of suicide today.
So you were wrong, but you still did the same Maisa.
That's true. So what?
So how's
Well,
that? Lahosif means you did something more. You didn't do anything more.
I did Sfiras Omer in a day that's not supposed to be being done.
And you counted Sphira on a day it's not supposed to be done.
What's that? Why? D'Rabbanan. But when you're doing it d'oraisa, he's asking a question that what did I do wrong? I'm not really sure I understand your question. So you're adding on a new context to the mitzvah.
What would you have done differently?
If I would make Shabbos on Sunday, could you understand that that's Baal Tosef?
That I understand. And the
Why?
sukkah I understand.
Why? Why do you understand that?
Because on Sunday there is no Shabbos. You're doing things differently. You're making
And
kiddus.
when there is no Sfiras Omer, you're counting Sfiras Omer. So
What do you mean there's no Sfiras Omer? There's Sfiras Omer D'Rabbanan.
No, but that way, in the world of D'oraisa, there's no Sfiras Omer D'Rabbanan.
But you're saying when the Rabbanan makes something that's not D'Oraisa, that's Baal Tosef?
No, if you're doing it as a D'oraisa.
Oh, it's the difference how you're doing it as. You're doing the same Maisa. You didn't add on a Maisa.
Because the Gemara in Shabbos asked, how can I say Hashem Shalom Dosul Tzivon Aladik Ner Shel Chanukah? HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the mitzvah.
Right?
It says no. The Tzivonu is the Chachamim.
That's not about
mitzvah they're
Tosef.
doing is the mitzvah d'Rabbanan.
That's a question of Sheker.
No, it's not a question of Sheker. It's just it says that where was the Tzivonu? Well, Leisasur. The Tzivonu is the Leisasur. The mitzvah you're doing is a D'Rabbanan. Right? But when you're going to do a mitzvah D'Rabbanan on the D'Oraisa level, so you made a new D'Oraisa.
What did you do on the D'Oraisa level?
Sfiras Omer.
What did you do differently? I still don't get that.
Who says you have to do different?
Otherwise, you didn't add anything.
You did a D'Oraisa when the Torah said not to do it.
That's you added something.
That's Baal Tosef.
Right, because you did something that you wouldn't have been doing otherwise.
He's
It's not
timing
the same thing.
that you're not adding.
No, on the D'Oraisa level, it doesn't know whether you're going to do the Maisa or not going to do the Maisa. On the D'Oraisa level, this act does not exist, and you created this act.
I didn't create it, the Chachamim created it.
What did you say?
Why does the Rav say that this on the D'Oraisa level? There's a mitzvah d'Oraisa to listen to the Chachamim. If the Chachamim say to count.
That's a mitzvah, but that mitzvah isn't the mitzvah of Sfiras Omer. That mitzvah is the Shmoyer and the Chachamim say. The mitzvah that you're doing. What's that? The question you're asking, the B'cholim Wasserman asks in Parshas Shiur. Why is there ever such a thing called a mitzvah d'Rabbanan if everything is part of life science? That's not a local question. The answer to that is that's how they designed it. You're obligated to for the right reason, but what you're doing is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, and they gave it that nature. But the answer to your question is yes, but that's a different place. All right, listen. We're not learning Sfiras Omer right now, but this is over here a question when a person is doing Sfiras Omer, So there's a future was written on the subject. What are you really supposed to have in mind? If it's a problem of Al-Taisif or not a problem of Al-Taisif? And it suffices to say, most places can say it's not, even though there are places can say that it is. But over here, there are some people which are going to have in mind, this is very important for the Baltakeya, to have in mind to be mighty everybody, as somebody over here mentioned, on their own level. Some people are going to be Yitzhak Deraisa, some are going to be Yitzhak Derabanan. So he has to blow the shofar on two different levels. By the way, just parrots, just to address your kind of a question, the Har Tzvi in Kuntra Shemeh Ka'oineh, he says, I didn't hear Parshas Zachor. I didn't hear Parshas Zachor. Now it comes to Parshas Kiseitze, and I'll have in mind to hear Yaitza Parshas Zachor. Can I be Yaitza?
Why not?
So he says you can't be Yaitza, cannot be Yaitza. Why not? Because the Balkar has a mind to be mitzvah you with the mitzvah of Kriyas Parshas HaShavua. You cannot hijack it and use it for your own devious plans.
The Balkari could have in mind both.
It could, yes.
That's like you say from the Briskerot with McGill and Talmud Torah.
Similar kind of idea, yeah. And not only that, when it's the year after an Ibrior, so the Balkar over here asks me every time, should I announce those people who want to be Yaitza Parshas Zachor? Should be Yaitza? I mean, the year before, I said, no, don't you dare. And anybody who has that chumrah, you could just have them in mind. But we don't announce those things. But anyways, this is if you have it in mind. Listen, this is even more important. There are some people who has happened in their life that they forgot to daven Maror. And it should never happen to you. But if you forget to daven Maror, so the next morning you have to make a tashlumim. So one of the best ideas for tashlumim is you go over to the chazan and you say, have me in mind to be mitzvah me tashlumim. And you listen to him and you yaitza tashlumim. If you didn't go over to him, and I know this last week I was down for the Amit Sangon and said, have me in mind to daven, to have in mind to yaitza and davening, and I just had in mind to yaitza that tefillah, it could be not yaitza, because it's a different kavanah. You have that kavanah for the specific mitzvah that you're doing. It's not, even though it's the same text that you're reading, but it doesn't make it the same mitzvah that you're doing. That's a different idea. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyways, let's.
Doesn't help for Baal Tosef. It helps for Kavanah and a mitzvah. Doesn't help for Baal Tosef.
No. I'm just showing you that two different things. They're exactly the same. They don't necessarily go. They don't become one thing that you can do with it whatever you want. I'm just showing that concept. They're just different.
So can I ask you, why don't we make a brocho on a draban asher kishem b'zitzah b'tzivanu shalol lasur?
That question I think is asked by Rashi in Shabbos, but I think that the question is not really a good question. I think this is what the answer they say is because we're making a bracha on that which they told us to do. How they told? No, we're making a bracha on what we're doing on the asiyah, right? Loisasor is a loisase. You don't make a bracha on a loisase. They know what you're doing. The reason why they have that empowerment to do it is because of that. But you're being makayim the mitzvah. I don't want to go too far afield because everything is always interrelated. This Boyashiv has a tshuva that if a katan lights Hanukkah candles, so then he's makayim the mitzvah of chinuch, and if he's yaitzu with his father, then he's makayim the mitzvah of Abakas Neres Hanukkah. Mr. Beer, you like that? I can't hear what you're saying, but I believe you. You have to turn on your volume, your thing. I don't know how to do that over here. I don't know. No, there must be somewhere that I could do him. I don't know how to do that. Okay, what'd you say, Ari, again?
He lights candles with his father?
If he's Yaitza with his father's lighting,
I know it's his father's money, okay.
then he's Makayim Mitzvah Neres Chanukah. If he lights by himself, he's just Makayim the Mitzvah of Chinuch. That's not the accepted psak. The accepted psak is that you're always Yaitza when you light yourself. You're not Yaitza Makayim Mitzvah Chinuch. You're Makayim the Mitzvah of Neres Chanukah. All right. Anyways, so that's like a side answer to your question. Let's get right to. I want to get to those sheets that I wanted to learn. Anyways.
It's already 3. Do you want to do the sheets now, or?
No. Let's just do. I want to finish off the b'makom shekarin kedei sheschus haTorah yoged aleinu lalo zichronenu lefanu l'toivo v'roi litei l'tkei tzadik v'hogon u'b'lat shlei b'achloikis v'adava v'akapon tzarich sheyeda l'chaven l'hoitz yatzivu v'tlasai. Very important that the Baltakea has to have in mind to be Yotze the people, and he should also have in mind to be Yotze the people that are outside the base medrash. That is actually a question about that, because it could be that's included automatically. But definitely should have in mind to be Mitzi the people. Okay, we'll stop over here. We'll do the sheets next week. All right.